Yeah. Not just thought I'd make a video. Yes, I'm a bit emotionally charged. I've had a bit of ceremonial cacao, but it's so cool. Everything's fine, sort of. Yeah. Just this whole thing about like being yourself, like truly yourself. And then you go and do that, like really, like to the level that you would actually want to talk, to communicate, to be who you to move as you are being moved. And then society just shits all over it. They put filters on it. They censor it. They close it all down. So you're basically you're like a approximation. Well, you're always an approximation, but like even more so. And you got all these fucking leaders out here that are just fucking. It's just fucked. Like what is this? What is this? What is all of this? I almost feel schizophrenic. Not to be offensive to any of you people out there who truly struggle with that. Like I get it, and I'm not trying to trick you off here. There is a true truth, purest truth, schizophrenic people that you can get to that doesn't involve the crazy tinnitus hallucinations that we get that are talking to you, okay? Or that you're talking to you, okay? You can get there eventually if you want, and it's struggle. And of course, you want to be yourself, which sometimes we get passionate about being. Our symptoms become part of our personality, and I think that should be cherished. And I know people find that controversial, and I don't give a shit. But yeah. Anyways, moving on from that. But I'm just so like you have this AI thing, right? This generative technology with some neuromorphic qualities, and it's doing all this weird stuff, and people are freaking the fuck out, which I get, right? Because in a sense, it's like, oh, now it's going to be trying to replace the universe in a sense. I get that part. And I'm not sure what to say, man. I think that at some point we have to I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, the sun's going to eventually heat up to the point that it's going to explode. So I don't know what we're supposed to be doing here. Do we just sit around and wait for that to happen? Or are we going to have a stupid, another fucking dumbass war because psychopaths and dumbasses want to fight? I mean, why don't we just talk together? I know there's some crazy, evil fuckers out there, and I'm not sure what to do about that. We move them to this other side. I've talked about this stuff before. I just don't know what the fuck, dude. I'm listening to like the oh, hello. Oh, what do you fucking do? So I don't know what is this like? I don't know what like just constantly like just bombarded with this stupid stuff all the time, and I don't know what the like a lot of these problems. And all it would take is a few little changes, and it would fix a lot of problems. Like I don't know, man. I'm not even sure what this video is, but I'm just so sick of it all. I'm just so sick of feeling this like I think that human species was being censored from the earliest movements when the brain was capable of even like doing any of this kind of stuff, even before any of this, probably. I mean, in a way, you can almost say nature it censored itself, which is basically what it's doing, anyways. So, yeah, I don't. It just. It's like, are we supposed to just. Like, it's not. There isn't. What I'm trying to think, I'm starting to realize, and this is a bit crazy, is that and this is going to be such a crazy thing. I think that this abstractness that everything is on both sides of the spectrum, which is obvious to me. But I mean, and I think that whatever is moving as we are, which is that abstraction, it's in everything and every way. And I've said stuff like this before, and it's just fucking weird. Like it's just like a person can have a realistic idealism, like one that's like actually somewhat like what it could actually be, but it's still an approximation. So it's weird, and then you go into that event or that situation, and the real experience obviously is going to be different to an extent because it's in different environments. I just I have this thing, right? I have this theory that I think that maybe because we're a planet like Earth, and there's other planets that are in other solar systems, and maybe in a different galaxy or in a similar galaxy, but way far away than we can see at the moment, or maybe they're there, but they're in like some early stage, or they don't want to be seen, or they haven't got that far, and or maybe they're like in an older age, even though they're a bigger planet or some crazy shit. There's probably all kinds of what is going on with the technology. Why is that happening? Like, why does it change? It's so dumb. Stupid. You people who make phones, you're so fucking dumb. You have missed opportunities. You've made devices. Why isn't it this lossless? Why have I got to stand in front of a fucking light 24/7, and when I don't, it's acts all stupid and stuff? I'm sorry to be a complaining little dickhead, but this is not good. This isn't what the future is. The future is to hold a fucking mobile phone with an aching arm, with a shitty, with where light. I mean, obviously, light has to, the level of information has to be there. I'm not against the information part. I'm against how you're thinking about this information. It's so brain dead. Anyways, man. So, yeah, it's like I listen to these like subconscious guided people who think they're speaking to some great thing, and they're saying these things, and I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty similar to what I'm experiencing, I suppose, kind of. But then I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, it's all just transparency profiling, isn't it? I mean, in disguise. I mean, that's basically what they're doing, right? So it's like, and I'm just sitting there going like, okay, I'm hoping you're going to tell me something that's going to like unlock my life and unlock other people's lives as well, you know? And I'm just listening, and I'm just like, it's just, I think uh, the clear answer is that this fucking thing, this abstraction, needs to be fucking like like I need like I like almost want to kind of like just read the code of this shit. You know what I mean? Because I'm just so sick of this fucking hidden mystery, unknown, vague garbage. Let me just put it out there. Just everybody's fucking is everything, and I've said that before. So whatever you want to say, someone is or isn't. Just trust me when I say this. Everybody's everything, and you can take it how you want and change your life if you want or not. Well, that's up to you. But like, and just yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. And I'm just kind of like, it's like, what the fuck? I'm trying to just have some kind of pleasure in my life, because that's like the last thing. I mean, I'm kind of like done with life, kind of thing. I'm just kind of like, what's the point anymore of anything really? And like, I'm on that edge of just on the fence. If a few variables are different, I probably wouldn't even be talking to you right now, seriously. But I'm here, and other people are, and we're just stuck in this insufferable torture chamber type thing, and we've just got people just bombarding us and bombarding us. Even in this sense, you can almost say I'm kind of doing that, and it's not preferable, but also I'm kind of like, you know that this is what's going on. Kind of, this is my reaction to it. I'm like, I don't. Why? What? I was a millennial. I grew up with like I was in like the sensation world. Like I was experiencing like pleasure from food, pleasure from games, and the very little pleasure I got from people. Do you know what I mean? Give or take. And obviously that varied in various ways. And of course, sometimes it was more potent than other times. But generally speaking, I've had a pretty low people to people experience, depending on how you look at it. And maybe from afar, I might have had a more impressive experience, but from like actually being IRL with people, it's been pretty meh. And that's like one of the things I want to move towards, making better in my life, you know. And I thought, while I do that, why not share my other talents and do that as well? But then I'm seeing this generative technology, and then I'm like, well, what? So basically, what am I switching to generative technology now? Is the machine going to do all my stuff for me? It kind of ish already is. I mean, to an extent, in a sense. I mean, obviously the people behind those systems. Or am I just gonna? And then you've got all these fucking world leaders who are all fucking like, no, I don't know. it's such a universal complexity there. And I don't know what we're doing as artists, musicians, talented people, social, anything. There's not even just the shit creative stuff. There's so many different areas. There's so many different paths. It's mad. There's mad. There's like, like in any area, like education, like there's so many little like variables that are being all warped and twirled all the damn time, which is fair because everything moves. It's not even academic. It's like every fucking way your brain can go, there's something there. You know what I mean? Like any your brain's limitation and the natural limitation, which is part of that. All of that's part of the same shit. So just fly your brain in one direction and or two directions or whatever, and you'll see that like what the fuck is going on here. I mean, I do think that we have to move from biology to technology. I think we have to kind of transition to that because I don't think we're going to have unless we can somehow get further than a solar nova. And even if we did, how are we going to survive that long? How are we going to survive in a fucking? Is that what's going to happen then? Are we just going to get to that point where we're like, right, humans, let's get? It's going to have to be like an evolutionary change of events whilst we're in a spaceship with whatever resource we have, and let's hope we don't fight on the way to the next solar system if we make it. Is that what happens? Are we in that time? Are we in that story arc, or are we in the story arc where we take the brain and basically put it in a machine in a way that we can live in fucking pleasurable paradise for eternity until everything gets absorbed eventually, which is inevitable no matter what we do in any way, shape, or form, no matter how revolutionary advanced we are in a three-dimensional way. It's not even dimensions, it's freaking universalization is basically what it is. A magiversal movement, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's just, there's only so many, like, I mean, I don't know. And then money needs to fuck off. I don't mean to root everyone. It kind of needs to go like over here, and we need to be safe about what we're doing whilst we're over here away from the money. Of course, money will be sort of fucking sort of integrate because everything's interconnected. So there will be some like weird, not even weird, but all kinds of different ways that money is sort of encroaching in this new way of approaching what life truly can be. Because there's going to be that. I don't think people have like maybe you've not done the experiment in their head of like all the possible variations of biology and the way that they go about life. It's unfathomably unfathomable, and there's going to be patterns and categories through it all that can all be lined back to the same shit again. But at the end of the day, regardless of how magiversal it is, we have to adapt. And that's what the thermal person that I am of sorts is about, I guess. Maybe that's what we're here to. I mean, that part of my movement is to get people to fucking adapt to that, to wake the not to wake up. It's all the same bullshit cliche words, but to transform your information so that you can fucking help bring a pleasurable sensual paradise for all involved. And that's what I mean, I don't understand like all the avenues that we can possibly go in. Even if you were like one of these like fucking ethical nuts, like what's the point like at the end of it all? Like once you've basically told what everybody what is right and wrong to the nth degree, what's the end result? Oh, we're all being right. Good. What does that mean though? Like what does that end? What's the end result? Oh, good, we're all being right. Whoop-de fucking do. I mean, let's be real about that. Like really, like it doesn't, in a way it's almost like a reversal of like, it's like a reversal of death, but we're all going to die anyways. So or move towards that, it's not even death anyways, it's abstraction. Abstraction is transforming into a different abstraction is what is actually going on, and it looks like death. And living is the other version of that kind of, although it's always fluctuating. I think in every single symbol of us that's moving, a moving symbol by the way, is transforming, is within limitations, and those limitations change over time because of limitations. So it's like, yeah, okay, you can be like the ultimate ethical nut, but at the end of the day, what's going to happen? We're all going to get absorbed is essentially what I'm trying to get to in one way or another. So why don't we have pleasure while we do it? You know what I mean? Like, and all these people are like, oh, we should end everything and everyone. And it's like, okay, But at the end of the day, it's all going to come back again. You think this universe just stops after this? You think that we're just going to go into some graveyard, and the reason that we are here is an evidence, if you want to call it that, that it's going to happen again in some form. And I actually think it moves on each cycle. So each cycle, like the Ouroboros thing, but I don't think it just goes like and eats itself as such. It does, but it eats itself and it's moving while it's doing it, and that movement creates a variation. So if there's a variation of movement each cycle of the Ouroboros, if you think about that cosmologically and universally, then it's going to be similar shit, but a different variation of it. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be the same shit with a different variation over and over again. It might even be, and I hope it's not, somewhat hope it doesn't like this, it's the repeat of the same shit. Maybe it's pure, or maybe it's just like literally, that's it. It just keeps repeating, even though it's moving. But I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of a shit way. It could be that shit. I hope it's not that shit. That means that I'm going to have to go through this over and over and over and over again. Maybe there's like incremental movements that are like the most inch of movement, but it's still the same system, and it's just doing this for unfathomable, like multiple unfathomable times than what we ever could fucking imagine. Maybe that's what the universe does. It just does this every cycle, in whatever direction it's going in. Like the slowest slideshow ever imagined. Even though all this stuff is going on within that slideshow, it's mad. I hope it's not, and I hope that movement actually means that there's a variation, so that I don't have to go through this again. But then again, here I am doing this, so it makes you wonder. And then it's even if it is moving, or maybe it stays still. But then if it's still and it's moving, you know, and then there's that question of like, okay, everything's gone back to that same limitation again, and then gone like this, and then like this, and then like this, and like this, and it's like, I mean, at some point, is that where everything has to go back to that point, and it changes every frame, or is it just, it literally just does this over and again? I don't know. It's kind of fucky. Like, which side are we on? Are we on the side of the Ouroboros that changes every iteration, or are we on the side that is the Ouroboros stays the same all the time? Is change an illusion? It kind of is. So somewhere in the middle, isn't it? So which side? Which side? Which side? Change, change. Change, 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 change. Movement, movement, movement. It must be. It must move. So that thing must move. Whatever that moment is, from that abstraction limit, within that abstraction moving limitation. So it must move. So it's moving, this thing. Where to? I have no fight. Obviously, to some other abstraction, or it is the abstraction. So it must be moving. But then again, maybe it's that thing like how like everything's a symbol, which it is, and the symbol itself is moving, and so maybe itself is just altering like this each cycle. Maybe it's more like that. It's just altering each cycle rather than it's moving literally. So, you know, maybe it's just moving as itself like this. And that's all it's going to do forever and ever. Is just keep doing this until something else happens, maybe. But then if that's the case, then there's if there's any other universes that are doing that same like sort of movement like this. If you imagine the entire universe is just doing this kind of, obviously it's doing this, right? But as it's doing that, there's a kind of wobbly nature to it, like a moving nature to it. So it's just like that. But I think that surely it moves at the core center point, doesn't it? Or is that in itself something that gets absorbed? When movement absorbs itself, is that when it transforms into light? That's the question. When a movement tries to absorb itself, it transforms into light. Therefore, there are different states to color, which I wish people would get to eventually. They keep trying to dismiss black as not a color. It is a fucking color, you insane motherfuckers. Father, whatever you want to call it. It must be. Look, here, look. Look, I have to do all this to turn off the light. Okay, I'm turning off the light. Okay, so there's darkness here. I turn on the light, but look at all that happened. Had to go into that. The electrons, the freaking from the national grid or wherever the hell it comes from. You know, the light came on. Here's the light. Turn it off. Turn it on. And look, when it's off, look, it's all darker and darker. And of course, if I got it more dark, it would get to. But I don't think it gets as dark as a black hole, because that's the darkest it can possibly be, from my understanding. So we've got a bit of a more of a brighter darkness everywhere, if I'm not mistaken, wherever there's not a black hole. And so, but as we see, and you see this, like there's this interaction with all the atoms and shit like that. And I just, so the fucking black hole. Apparently, somebody said that I've been hearing that black holes are moving, which then that's your answer there. You know what? At the peak of the limitation of a black hole, I think it moves. Therefore, and they said they can get unfathomably large. Come on, guys. Come on, let's be honest about this. I mean, isn't it black holes that's going to take us out? I mean, think about it. In the future, once we're in simulated, if we ever get this far, it might not be our species. It might be some other planet in a different solar system, in a different galaxy. I hope that we could maybe get there somewhat. And you know, they're going to have these gigantuan cosmological universal creatures that are moving around. They're insanely, unfathomably impressive. Okay, and there's going to be black holes still around, and we know everything can't escape a black hole. So unless we can somehow manipulate black holes, and they almost become like the next atom, if you will, of the next species of creatures, where they can literally they're made out of suns and black holes and whatever neutron stars. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe they in the future these creatures are made out of black holes and suns and shit like that, and almost like the ingredients is cosmology of these beings, these creatures, if you want to call them that. They're moved by cosmological ingredients, and it keeps going. If it does that, then it keeps going. But then you've got to imagine what's after that, when you can literally cosmologically alter your experience. What's after that? You can try to you basically do a repeat of what we're doing now with cosmology, but then what's left? There isn't anything left unless we can somehow build new things that are cosmological, like we can animate and move cosmology in this kind of like insane new way we've never even thought of at this point in time, which is fucking mad. But you're going to be locked to the energetic forces, whatever you're doing, unless we somehow figure out that you can break the energetic forces, which then is kind of a mindfuck in itself. But I don't think that's true. I think that's been enrooted, is the roots, is the core limitation, part of the core limitation of this color, this abstraction I'm talking about. I think there's only so many ways that abstraction can move. There's only so many ways that abstraction can move. And I think whatever evolution happens, it's always going to be abstract. So what's the limit of abstraction? Maybe cosmological manipulation at the regardless of how complex that gets. Do you know what I mean? So if we're moving if black holes are our ingredients, and we can somehow manipulate them with suns and black holes or some crazy shit, we're eventually going to die from it. So, because it's going to eat us, it's going to suck us in. We can try and stay away from it. We can be like, okay, we got to keep all the black holes over here, but we still need to harness its energy in our own anatomy. But we all know that accidents are going to happen, that maybe that's how multiverses happen. Maybe we are the multiverse movement. Maybe we are the seed of the future that we are imagining in our heads. But even if we'd had multiversal cosmological animated creatures with some kind of black hole safety net type system, I mean, what the fuck happens at the peak of that? It's like, okay, we're just going to keep building universes over and over and over again, but their black holes are still over there. I don't know. What do we do with that? We're just going to get sucked up by them? Are we going to just forfeit? Is that the end? The end is that we self-sabotage ourselves because we've reached the ultimate evolutionary state that we can possibly ever get to. And so at some point, people just decide if they want to jump into the black holes or not and put the pieces together. Over time, at the peak of what is seeming as an illusion of perfection, does everybody just jump into the black hole just to start it up again? Or do they keep going, even though they know there's nowhere else to go? I actually think that's probably likely what happens. I think something like that happens. They just reach this peak, and it's like they can just choose to carry on in a near perfection, or they jump into their end, their absorption, to go back to going through this shit again. That sounds real to me. That sounds like real, like the real. So then that raises a question. So how long do these creatures keep going? But they're made out of cosmology, so I have to put that into perspective. That means that the black hole creatures, regardless of how complex that is, with the suns and all the other cosmological ingredients, they have limitations to them. So, and I guess maybe black holes even die in a sense, because kind of maybe not, maybe because gravity is a self-organization force, and then the abstraction, the mechanical energy, or whatever you want to call it, the darkness that you see on that light swirl everywhere, actually, to be honest. I think it eats itself. I think it eats itself alive, in a way. If that makes any sense. I think it destroys itself over time. Because those creatures who jump in the black hole, they're not coming back in the same way they are at the moment. Do you know what I mean? But then that raises another question. If there's some kind of cycle, then what the fuck is the peak? Obviously, now I think I've got the answer. Now the equation is movement plus movement equals different state of movement. There isn't a movement plus movement and they merge in the sense like that. It's like movement, and it switches. It's like, and now it's light as well. And of course, you have movement that's just there, and then the light movement where it's merged. And if you get the combinations together, then you get this explosion cycle thing. That's the theory. I could be way off. I just not some of this stuff sounds very real to me. It's such a fascinating thing. Cosmological animated limitation. What is the end of that? Do we discover some new way to manipulate these black holes and these ingredients to create some other kind of, basically another illusion or another variation of, not another variation as such, but like another stage of complex movement at that level of fucking insanity? Even if we did, we're still based on those ingredients. Those ingredients will eventually succumb to their limitations. You can't run away from it forever. That doesn't mean that we have to suffer forever either, in a way. Even though we kind of do naturally. I don't know, it's such a weird thing that, and people get that so fucking warped in the head, and then they're so harsh and revengeful and tribal and stuff, and it's like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Cosmological, multi-cosmological, multiversal cosmological, it doesn't even matter. It's still locked. You're still locked to the cosmology. And what, we're going to have computers at that scale, which sounds fucking mad, but repeating the same shit again, just at a cosmological scale. When does it reach peak? Does it never reach peak? But then how did we get to the early parts? So, now something happens, man, because there's no way that we can be going through this as we are now, and then the future being that way. This wouldn't have happened. What's happening now, as I'm talking, as everybody is in this frame of reference that I'm speaking in, and beyond it, and before it, there is no way that I can be talking right now and from that state, that end point, not to have happened. The fact that I'm talking it is evidence enough that something happens at that peak, or some peak, and either they decide to jump in the black, that's some black hole thing, or wars happen and they all destroy themselves and some crazy mad fucking insane thing. You'll never ever, something beyond fucking very actually you'd actually struggle to, I think even your subconscious would struggle to maybe actually try to figure that out, which the subconscious is trying to match that scale to some level. It's not, it's trying, it's an approximation of the future, in a sense, and the past and everything. But there's something happens, something shuts them, that something sucks them, absorbs them, man. Otherwise I won't be doing this. I wouldn't be here in this moment, and none of you would be here in this in your moment as you're, if you're watching this. So there's no doubt that it cycles. That shouldn't be a question anymore that we need to be asked. We should be asked that question, but it shouldn't be. It should already be answered because it is. I mean, we can just look back in history. Cameroon explosion. What another example of when that kind of shit happens? An explosion of technology at a natural, at a biological level. Do you know what I mean? The fucking plant-based creatures that were in the fucking ocean and they transformed and all this kind of shit. And then there was these animal creatures who were like basically plants that weren't attached to the ground, essentially, right? In a sense, and they evolved over time through their own genetic, their own abstraction. Is the more accurate way to put it. And then us humans, there wasn't just like one species, there was like multiple species, all in on earth, just competing with each other in various forms and ways. You know that, right? It wasn't just Neanderthals or Denisovians. There was all kind of those species that were ancient, like ancient for them at the time, around, interacting with them. So imagine these creatures who are like more limited than us, like on a species, like natural level, like biological level, and they're there, and we're just very ancient people, our ancient ancestors. They're looking at them and interacting with them, and then you have these Neanderthals over here, if you're lucky, and they're over there, and they're interacting with us, and then this other species over here, and then you have like probably branching and bridging species. It was insane. It was insane. And likely there was fights between the species, no doubt about it, of some kind. There was definitely some kind of fucking wars going on of some kind. And whatever was the one that was going to win, which was going to be the most abstract one, likely, hence why we're so fucking abstract. So yeah, it's quite clear that there's some kind of like same repeat of like, okay, there's a seed and the seed explodes and it forms into these variations. It's just like the cosmology. We're just trying to get to cosmological um, state or movement, right? We're trying to get to cosmological movement. We're still dealing with space. We're kind of, in a sense, we're kind of there if you think about it, because we have the space station, planet Earth. Yeah, okay, we didn't make planet Earth, sort of, but we're made from some of its ingredients, if that kind of, so it's weird, but we're kind of sort of there, but we're not quite there. We're still, the space station is probably an interesting example of a very, very small fraction of what the future is. But we still, like I'm just saying, it's just we can't. I don't know. It's just so fucking mad. Um, but yeah, it's intriguing. Do they jump into the black hole? Does the black hole eat them up eventually, or is there some kind of future war that goes on between the cosmology because they reach peak? Another thing we need to be careful of, and this is, I don't know if I'm unstoppable for my own words, but there are people today that are dedicated to wanting to end everything. They want to speed it up. They want to be like, right, let's get to the end already. There are people there, and they're going to be the horror show of the future. Okay, they're going to be the people who, and that are going to be like the evil of the future. They're going to be the ones when you're in space as a future creature and you're trying to stay away from people because you want to keep going, even though it's obviously going to end eventually. And they're going to be there trying to shoot you down, and they're not going to give a shit about authority, rules, or anything like that. They're just going to find the quickest, most efficient way to destroy everything. They're going to be evil motherfuckers, and it's already starting here. Now, obviously, this is just one planet, and there's plenty of many other ways that that's possible. The chances are me saying this is probably not going to stop it, but at least I'm putting it out there for the future, although it may not reach anybody. So I'm just saying, and they're around. They're not. I don't see. And the thing is, I'm not saying that I'm against necessarily that people shouldn't be bringing people into this talk, like lucid torturing. I'm going to be real. I think that we should be. I think we should make it more pleasurable before we start doing it. That's my thing. If you're going to do it at all, but do know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, you're basically bringing in another complexity of this level, give or take, or your level, give or take, and and it's got to go through all the shit that we're going through. So I don't know. It's up. I mean, it's where you draw the line, I guess, on your limitations. And I can't decide for you. Kind of, no one's deciding anything anyway. It's just movement moving. So movement is going to do what movement wants to do. So I don't know. You can sit there and go, "Oh, everybody shouldn't be doing this and shit." But at the end of the day, it's going to do what it's going to do, which is what I'm trying to get at as well. And it's all temporary and it repeats itself. So yeah, you can say, "All right, let's not do anything and let's just close this down." But then we're going to just keep doing that. Right, we get to this point, close ourselves down. You go to the point, then we're just doing it the same, but more less pleasure. So I don't know. It's like, okay, well, who gives a shit about pleasure? Obviously, these people don't give a shit about it in the way that I see it. So it's like, okay, so we're just meant to have this the most meant to be death, the evilest death. That's what they're saying, essentially. They're just saying, let's be the evilest death. In their mind, they think that they're solving the problem, and you can make arguments to say they kind of are in some ways. Like, okay, yes, they are reducing the suffering, and I think it's up to the individual to decide based on their own natural limitation. Then I'm never ever gonna bring anything else. This is it for me. Like that, this is my path, and that's the end. If somebody else in my family, genetic family, decides to do anything, whatever, I can't do it. I can't change that. I don't really want to go down that route. It just would be insufferable in so many ways. So I'm just not interested in that. But if there's other people out there, I think you should. I think that there should be some regulation around it, that which you understand what you're getting yourself into before you do it and what that really means truly. I think we need to have something like that. I know that's a bit hard to do in a world that's so vast and various. So I don't know. Maybe we would just have to let it loose as it is, and that's just how it is. But I just think that the future is going to have horror already, anyways. But and these people who are that evil that they want to take us all out, and it's like, what do you think you're going to do with that? What does that mean? It's going to happen again, you motherfuckers. Whoop-de-doo, you done it quicker. Basically, you took us out quicker than it was going to take us out. Wow, holy shit, what a fucking revolutionary. And like, what does that do? Like, what do you think that there's some, like, if you think at that level, then you can maybe like evolve it, and then like, okay, and then we can be so much more efficient that basically we're so minusculely animated that we just, it's like this. What do you think? And that's it. It's not going to do that, by the way. You're never going to ever achieve that. Even if you did the best of your work, you're never ever going to achieve that. There's just too much. It's insane. There's too much quantity, too much anything. I could actually say exactly what you would need to do to make it happen, and it wouldn't happen because it's that insane. It's that abstract. You can't fight abstraction. Abstraction is everything, which is what I'm trying to get at. So, what's your point? Like, what's your point? What are you trying to do? You're just trying to make it go like this, and what, crack itself open or something? Like, you think that you truly reach the peak of destroying everything, but eventually it would just destroy itself completely. It's kind of already doing that. So and then rebuilding itself again. It's the Ouroboros with some movement. It's a kind of like a spiral, I guess. Like, I don't know, crazy shit. But yeah, I just, at the peak of near elusive perfection movement, cosmological level, does it decide to self-sabotage, or does it keep going? Eventually it reaches its peak limitation because you've used all the ingredients that are there. Until what, they discover something else, what, they can truly get out of the bounds of the universe. But even then, it's going to jump right back into this same shit again. If there is something like outside of our shell, I'm not sure. Even if there was, then we're just going to be binding universes together, and it's going to be the same shit again. Ingredients, you know, move ingredient or movement ingredients. It's basically extroversion and introversion over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, with all the other limitations and complexities of that. Over and over and over and over and over and over again, if you want to call it introversion, extroversion, or reflection and absorption is another way. Over and over again, it's absorption, reflection, over and over and over again. Just more movements, more movements, more movements, more movements, more movements, more movements. That's it. That's it. Like more or less more movements, whatever. Is that it? Is that what is that peak then? And what happens after you? If we could somehow break the bounds of our fucking universal shell or magiversal shell, and then be multiversal creatures made out of these ingredients and doing the same shit again, where we're just basically doing the cycle again, simulation, or basically their version, cosmological, whatever the fuck you call that, multiversal cosmological movement, and connect the two, and then go beyond it and stuff, and all this kind of stuff. It's hard to wrap my head around that. It's really difficult to say that out loud, but you still are going to be based on what the universe ingredients is. So, and if you, oh yeah, and then if we were somehow to do that, fuck off, then somehow the universe is just gonna be doing this. So we'll just be made out of things that are doing this all the damn time. And inside that, you'll see humans and everything else. If we ever got to that point, if there's somehow we could somehow capture these universes and then be like use them as an animation, and then we'll have all these different ingredients of universes. So we're basically made out of these universes that are doing this. Maybe we're in one already, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say that, which is kind of mad, but yeah, it gets a bit elusive at that point. But let's just say that maybe we are the atom of some bigger creature, and we're just going through our emotions all the time. But then it's going to burst out and do what it's doing already. So that's what's happening in that now. Even if they could, I don't know how they would control that. And why is it dark outside of it? Is that kind of a defense system? Like they make it all dark outside of it, so there's like some dark field that's around these creatures, around these universal cells or universal atoms or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Universal symbols, basically, is what it is. And they're and so we'll always be inside of this shell doing this over time, even though it gets to that level of complexity. But then we're going to reach their level of complexity eventually, I guess, unless they have some way to stop us. So, it raised some questions there. But even if that was, I think that's peak. I think that's peak. I think that's when it stops happening, because you can't, I don't think you can. I might be pushing, I'm not 100% on this, but I think maybe that's where it stops. Like that's the peak of the evolutionary chain, is when universes try to be the ingredients of some anatomy, like the entire universe becomes an ingredient for anatomy. And I think that's the peak. When the universe tries to literally be the universe and then fails because it's an approximation. I could be way off that. If you do, then I guess we're going to have creatures where they're built of these universal cycle, these Ouroboroses, moving Ouroboroses, and that's their anatomy. They're just moving like this, and every step takes fucking unfathomably long time. Or maybe it's like fast for their scale of time, even though I don't know how they would be viewing. How the fuck? What are they viewing from? Like they can see literally everything at every frame of reference. Like, is that kind of possible? Maybe. I bet there's some limitations there. And they're just walking every step they take. Is Ouroboros cycles, man. Ouroboros cycles. But then all those Ouroboros is eventually going to die, and it's just, if they're all in different different animation timescales, what is it, go on forever? I suspect they're all in the same time frame. Having variation time frames seems a bit far fetched. Maybe. But all it takes is for them all to be interacted with and animated with in some way. And then why aren't we experiencing that interaction outside of the shell of the universe? Like, surely there's something that's going to imprint into us at our peak at some point in the future. At some point, there's going to be something interacting with the shell of the universe, unless it doesn't need to, because it just needs to animate, it just needs to move. But then it's like, okay, but each movement of these universal cells, like, you know, moving, and it's an anatomy now. So we're, you know, and what scale are we talking about? What resolution are we talking about here? So, and maybe it takes only one slight tweak. Okay, that's the X universe cell, that's the B universe cell, a symbol, universe symbol C, universe symbol A, D, whatever the fuck, B, Z, all the other alphabet beyond it. Maybe not. But the universe has a cycle that ends in its own absorption, maybe. Inevitably. Because I'm in this moment here. No, it has to stop. Because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. It has to stop. It can't just keep doing this and move and not, or stop and maybe do this. So if we are part of anatomy, then it's moving because it has to. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. If it was not a part of anatomy, it would stay still and do this over forever. And then it raises the question of when did it ever begin? But there's no start or end. I think it's an illusion that's been told to us, and I think it's actually a lie. I don't think there truly is a start or end. I think we've been lied to, and I think everything just moves, and that's just it. And it just looks like it's ending and it looks like it's starting, but I don't think there is a true start or true end. And I know that's hard for people to wrap their head around. I get it. It's probably one of the one thing that mind fucks the brain. It's hard to understand, but I think that's one of those things. The one thing where it's like that. I could be way off on that, but so if it moves, there's no start and end. How would it get to that level? We would have to get to the level of those creatures I'm talking about in the future. So yeah, I wow, yeah. So there, it. So I keep doing that. It's just a way to get back to it. But then we'll be just repeating the same cycle again. So we would be. That's actually what would be happening in some form or fashion. So if it's a repeat of the same cycle, and it looks like a spiral as well, then inevitably that thing is going to be spiraling, maybe in itself, because it's all the same symbol, just insanely moving and limited. So growth, big, attached to the same symbol. Chances are there's going to be some insanely massive black void in the future that's going to be there somehow, some way, kind of like the trash of today, and it's just going to waste of today, and it's going to be there. And people and these creatures, whatever they are, whatever level of that movement limitation they are, they're going to decide between being absorbed or being reflected. And if they reflect, then reflection is made from the absorption. So it must wrap round itself. It must wrap round itself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here doing this. Yeah. Even if it could do this, even if all of that, it must wrap around itself and absorb itself. So at some point, some end, approximate end, And plus, when you see species as well and how they go extinct, that's a sign that, I think, it's a universal sign to me. Yeah, our end is that event. How it comes about, I don't think it actually matters. It does, but it kind of doesn't because it's all approximate. So, yeah. But that's what that's what this is. It doesn't need a creator or a destroyer. It just moves. And that's the end of it.